with that, let me invite our soon-to-be, because we haven't formally organized, Senator Rubio, I announced that before, but soon-to-be, our new ranking member, the junior senator from Florida, who I look forward to working with very closely to move the interests of our collective hemispheric engagement together with Senator Rubio.
Thank you, Senator and Mr. Chairman, for holding this meeting. And if I need to, when we ratify this, I'll come back and give the opening statement again a second time, just to make sure it's but I appreciate your leadership on the committee and for holding this hearing. I think we talked before. If I'm correct, this subcommittee only met a handful of times over the last few years, and unfortunately, I think it's reflective of a lack of vision towards the region by multiple administrations in both political parties. And that being said, I think there's been a tremendous amount of progress made in the region and in this hemisphere. And with the sad exception of Cuba and a handful of increasingly authoritarian regimes in the area, Latin American leaders increasingly recognize the legitimacy of free and fair elections, of pro-market economic policies, and the unprecedented cooperation to curb transnational crime. I think the best example of that would be Colombia. This is a country that almost 2 decades ago was nearly a failed state. It had and in the process it has now, over the last 2 decades, defeated a communist narco-guerrillas. It's expanded democratic spaces and strengthened independent government institutions, and it's opened markets and increased economic competition. And I think it reminds us that Colombia today, and I think the panelists I hope will agree, is our strongest ally in the region, and certainly an example to the region of the promise of tomorrow, when there's real leadership and a vision for tomorrow. And, but the work is not complete, which is one of the main reasons it's imperative that our Congress approve our seriously delayed trade promotion agreement with both Colombia as well as Panama. With the exception of Nicaragua, the nations of Central America are working hard to overcome the legacy of the Cold War conflicts, to build democratic institutions, and to bring security to their citizens. Unfortunately, the U.S. response, I think, to some of these rising challenges, and again, I don't mean that in a partisan context, appears confusing, inconsistent, and timid. Let me say I'm pleased that the President will be traveling to the region shortly. I think that that's a promising first step in this new year, and I think there's much more to be done. I also believe that in many respects the United States and its confusing policy towards the region has often created a vacuum that has allowed us to lose market share in many of these strategic partners that we have in the region, that at a time when other nations around the world are recognizing the promise of Latin America, the promises of the Western Hemisphere, and are more than eager to fill it while we look elsewhere or nowhere at all. And so I hope that that'll be a focus of the subcommittee as well. And let me thank the panelists for being a part of this. I hope we'll have a future repeated engagement on this issue. I personally, not just because of where I'm geographically located in Florida, but because I truly believe that the 21st century can be a Western Hemispheric century, one where the true and full promise of equality and opportunity can bear fruit in multiple nations, and it will enrich us all. And so I hope that we can be leaders in that regard, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your leadership on this issue, and I look forward to the testimony of the panel.